I'm Francesca Maxime, and this is Currents.
I think same-sex couples should be able to get married.
A presidential first, and one that has people on both sides talking.
My view is that marriage itself is a relationship between a man and a woman.
Could it be the issue that decides the election? Plus, a timely talk on freedom of conscience.
Healthcare workers do have rights of conscience. They should always practice consistent with their beliefs and their faith. No one should force them to violate their conscience. They stand within the mainstream of American life.
Well, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us. Liz Faublas has the night off. Well, it has been the news story since it first broke on Wednesday afternoon, with President Obama announcing his support for same-sex marriage. CNN's Shelby Lynn has the story.
It was a first by a sitting president. He broke the news in an interview with ABC News.
At a certain point, I've just concluded that for me personally, it is important for me to go ahead and affirm that I think same-sex couples should be able to get married.
In response, Republican presidential hopeful Mitt Romney reiterated where he stands.
My view is that marriage itself is a relationship between a man and a woman, and that's my own preference. I know other people have differing views. This is a very tender and sensitive topic, as are many social issues, but I have the same view that I've had since running for office.
Obama's new view has people talking.
I feel very strongly that marriage is between a man and a woman.
This is great. I mean, with the president backing this is like a great step for gay people everywhere.
A gay and lesbian equal rights group says it's a watershed moment.
We will never have another president, Democrat or Republican, that opposes gay marriage.
The Family Research Council, which opposes same-sex marriage, says Obama's new stance helps his main rival.
The president, I think, has handed to Mitt Romney the one missing piece in his campaign, and that is the intensity and motivation that Mitt Romney needs among social conservatives to win this election.
In 6 months, voters will have their say.
And that report from CNN's Shelby Lynn. Well, in that ABC interview, Obama said his support of same-sex marriage is personal and that he would leave the issue up to the states. That may be at odds, though, with a decision announced last year that the Obama administration would no longer defend the Defense of Marriage Act, or DOMA, in court. DOMA defines marriage on the federal level as between a man and a woman, but also protects states that do not allow same-sex marriage from being forced to recognize such marriages performed in states where it is legal. Obama also added that his public support of same-sex marriage came earlier than planned after Vice President Joe Biden, a Catholic, announced his own support during an appearance last weekend on NBC's Meet the Press. There was plenty of reaction to the president's announcement. The Washington Post reports that Obama called a Protestant pastor in Florida who acts as his spiritual advisor shortly after recording the interview. Reverend Joel Hunter says he told Obama he did not agree with the president's view on same-sex marriage. Hunter also says he told the president that his announcement would not affect their relationship. According to Hunter, Obama says his view of same-sex marriage would not affect churches or religious groups. Obama also received support today from high-ranking members of his own party. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, a Catholic, says the president took the lead on the issue.
The statement that the president made yesterday was something that was the right thing to do for our country. It filled my heart with joy. We come here to do a job for the American people, not to hold a job. And I think what he did was to advance the cause of civil rights in such a personal as well as presidential way that it's more important than any political consequences.
Well, Pelosi's successor as House Speaker is, for the most part, actually steering clear of the issue. Political reports that when Speaker John Boehner, who's also Catholic, was asked, he said he believes marriage is between a man and a woman. He then went on to say, quote, "The president and the Democrats can talk about it all they want." Boehner says the American people are focused on the economy and asking, where are the jobs? Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell, a Catholic who is a potential running mate for Mitt Romney, echoed Boehner when he was asked about the president's announcement.
Same-sex marriages are already prohibited in the Virginia Constitution. So the people have spoken. I'm surprised that President Obama's reversed himself. He said he wasn't for it, and especially when the issue is about jobs and the economy, for him to wade into social issues here in an election year is sort of surprising.
And many also believe that there may be some political consequences to the president's announcement. Family Research Council President Tony Perkins, whom we heard earlier on in the CNN report, well, he says that the news may provide a boost to Mitt Romney's campaign.
I think the missing piece of the jigsaw puzzle when it comes to the enthusiasm issue behind the Romney campaign that piece may have been handed to him yesterday by the president, because it's very clear now there is a contrast on this key issue. Now, I thought this election was going to be all about the economy and jobs. I think we're going to see another presidential election in which the issue of marriage is going to be front and center in the debate.
And the church was also quick to react to the news. In a statement, the Bishops' Conference president, Cardinal Timothy Dolan, called the president's comments deeply saddening. Dolan said the bishops, quote, cannot be silent in the face of words or actions that would undermine the institution of marriage. He said Obama's announcement was not surprising considering previous actions by the administration to, quote, erode or ignore the unique meaning of marriage. In addition to no longer defending DOMA, the president also helped lead efforts to repeal the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy, which had prohibited anyone who was open about their same-sex attraction from serving in the U.S. military. Well, closer to home, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, also a Catholic, well, he expressed his support for Obama's decision. Speaking Wednesday, Cuomo said, quote, I applaud the president's courage. Cuomo has been a leading voice in the state on the issue, helping successfully push same-sex marriage through the state legislature last year, resulting in a vote that was roundly denounced by New York's Catholic bishops. Meanwhile, Catholic League President Bill Donahue said that Wednesday's announcement by President Obama would hurt him in swing states during the upcoming elections. Donahue pointed out that in the 32 states where the issue has been put on the ballot, voters have always rejected same-sex marriage. Well, we will have much more on this straight ahead when I talk with National Review Online editor Catherine Jean Lopez. Stay tuned for that. Welcome back to Currents. Well, the big news, President Obama announcing his support of same-sex marriage. Just about everybody has been weighing in, with Democrats, along with Obama's liberal base, praising the announcement. Republicans, conservatives, and Catholics are voicing their opposition, however, with many going so far as to say there could be political fallout. Will that be the case? Joining me to discuss that aspect is National Review Online editor at large, Catherine Jean Lopez. Thanks so much for joining us today, Catherine.
Thank you for having me on, Francesca.
So the president has spoken out in support of same-sex marriage. Tell me what this means for the push in favor of same-sex marriage nationally. Could there be any legislation that could come out of it from the White House?
Well, the fact of the matter is the president's announcement was basically an acknowledgement of what everyone knew was his position anyway. We knew he supported gay marriage. He just had never said it. And we knew that in part because of his record as president of the United States. He refuses to defend the Defense of Marriage Act. The Speaker of the House has had to secure legal representation, so someone in the federal government would defend the law in the court of law. And so the president had done everything but admit. And so in one big sense, I actually think this is not a notable thing, in as much as we knew it was his position, in as much as he. One could be conspiratorial about what Joe Biden did on Sunday on Meet the Press, which was say that he was comfortable with same-sex marriage. But maybe that was a trial balloon. Who knows? But the fact of the matter is, the president has fundraisers in Hollywood this week, and for the vice president to have said what he said, and the president to be silent on what his actual position is, he couldn't do that, right? So I think this is more about shoring up his base, rallying his base than anything else. I don't think we're going to see anything concrete in the short term, because frankly, we've already seen concrete things from this administration.
That sort of leads into the next question. How does and how will President Obama's support of same-sex marriage now affect his race with Mitt Romney? Does it work now in Romney's favor by getting the social conservatives that may have previously withheld Romney support to go give it now?
Well, I think it definitely helps with clarifying that there are choices in this election, right? I think that Mitt Romney, frankly, doesn't even have to talk about it all that much, and he has. He's a supporter of traditional marriage. He was in Massachusetts when the Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage there. He was an opponent of the Supreme Court decision, and so he doesn't even have to talk about it every day of the campaign, and people will know that there's this difference. But I also think that the president is concerned. And the reason I think the president is concerned is, first of all, when same-sex marriage is on ballots, traditional marriage tends to win in state after state, so often the case. But last night, frequently, as someone who is often on the opposite side of many issues as the president, I usually feel like he's dismissing my point of view. I didn't feel that way yesterday, and I think because he said something like people of goodwill disagree. I used to be one of those people, something like that, and I think that's an acknowledgement, not that he's the king of civility, but that he knows this is a political problem. Maybe he does truly believe that, but I think the fact that he said it has something to do with he knows he can't make this a cornerstone of his campaign, and the fact that he looks like he had to walk into it because he was forced into it underscores that a bit. But he also can't make it a cornerstone of his campaign.
We only have a minute left, Catherine. I'm sorry. I just have to get to this next question because I want to make sure that we cover that. Do you think that is it really going to affect the people, his base, the core base, blacks, Hispanics, Catholics that supported him before, or not?
I think it will. I think the cumulative effect of the HHS mandate, forcing contraceptive, sterilization, and abortion drug coverage, and so many other issues, again, help clarify things. And if you're going to overlook one thing, as these radical policies pile up, right, it's harder to ignore. So I do think it's a problem, and I think that if one believes that Joe Biden did it on purpose and this was a trial balloon, that was a brilliant way to do it. Have a Scranton altar boy start the whole thing.
Sure.
I think the president knows it may be an issue.
Well, Catherine, that is all we have time for now, but we do appreciate your time here. Catherine Jean Lopez of the National Review Online. Thanks for joining us on Currents.
Thank you so much.
And stay tuned. We'll have the rest of the day's headlines coming up next. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Francesca Maxime. Well, the issue of same-sex marriage also in the spotlight across the Atlantic, though not quite at the same level as it is here in the U.S. The UK newspaper, the Catholic Herald, reports the Welsh government is telling Catholic schools that they must present a balanced perspective on same-sex marriage. The Welsh Education Minister says the Catholic Education Service for England and Wales may have violated a 1996 law by promoting a petition in schools that opposed legalizing same-sex marriage. According to the Catholic Herald, the Education Service was criticized for distributing a pastoral letter from the Archbishop of Westminster on marriage. The Education Service called the letter a positive affirmation of marriage and rejected the suggestion that Catholic schools acted illegally. A new prayer has been approved for the use in the U.S. just in time for Mother's Day. Rome Reports has the details on that.
It's official. Right on time for Mother's Day, there's a new prayer to bless both expectant parents and their child while it's still in the mother's womb. The prayer is a way to highlight the dignity of human life from the moment of conception. In fact, it will be read for the first time in several U.S. parishes on Sunday to celebrate Mother's Day. The blessing was first approved by American bishops back in the year 2008, but most recently the Vatican gave it its final approval. The text can be downloaded at usccb.org, but one can also order the 43-page booklet, which is both in English and Spanish. The name of the prayer is Right for the Blessing of a Child in the Womb. Among other things, it's meant to promote parents' special bond with their child even before it's delivered into the world.
Meanwhile, Lebanon's president is condemning the kidnapping of a Catholic priest. According to his press office, President Michel Sleiman called the kidnapping unacceptable. The priest, who was released hours after being taken at gunpoint, was believed to have baptized a Muslim girl. Some election news from France. The website The Vatican Insider reports 79% of Catholics there voted for Nicolas Sarkozy. That's according to a survey conducted by the Harris Institute. The Catholic vote was not enough to put Sarkozy over the top, however. He lost to challenger François Hollande, who received 70% of the atheist vote. According to the survey, French Catholics do not agree with Hollande's support of same-sex marriage and of allowing same-sex couples to adopt. In Rome, a look at the work of a famous French cardinal. We'll get that story from Rome Reports.
These priests and students know that theology can sometimes be challenging, and that's exactly why they decided to learn more about French Cardinal Jean Danielou, one of the leading theologians from the Second Vatican Council. He was a Jesuit who died in the year 1974. Throughout his life, he made it a point to rediscover the teachings of the Church's founders by looking into faith and reason. Together, the Fraternity of St. Charles Borromeo and the Pontifical University of the Holy Cross looked into his life and teachings.
As a theologian, he is important because he was a great theologian who explained things in a way that could be easily understood by many. He deepened his theological reflection by looking into issues that interest people today.
His mother was a devout Catholic, but his father kept his distance from the church. But it was precisely that combination that made him understand how to explain faith in a modern world. In fact, to deepen his understanding of theology, he always made it a point to talk with people and to be around them to fully understand their mentality.
You could say that Danielou was never a theologian who remained at home with his books. He always gave an intense spiritual direction, spiritual guidance, and he listened to people. He wanted to make it clear that it's important to celebrate baptisms, marriages, and other sacraments.
During the tribute, the speakers emphasized the unity between his train of thought and his work as a priest, especially since this year marks the 50th anniversary of the Second Vatican Council.
And some accolades from Brooklyn's Catholic newspaper for some aspiring young journalists.
Today we're here at St. Francis College and we're honoring high school journalists. We run a competition every year for all of the students who write for their high school newspapers in the Catholic high schools of Brooklyn and Queens. We chose Dave Gibson to talk today because, first of all, he's a religious journalist.
I do believe journalism means something in the end, even though we do a lot of fluff and we got to do a lot of dumb celebrity stuff. You can actually change things. If you can't change the world, you can change a little corner of it.
I wrote for my high school newspaper myself at Cathedral Prep. We never had this type of thing. We just kind of wrote in a vacuum. There was no interactions with other schools. What we try to do is we bring the schools together here. We give them a chance to talk to one another, see what each other are doing.
We just started off as something to do after school. But afterwards, I really got into it. What can I take from it? Well, I think just the experience, the things you learn in terms of editing, dealing with, working with other people.
I am very happy to say that I can debunk the theory that youth cannot write.
What I saw from every single newspaper is that there is a lot of good writers. They're thinking about their schools, they're thinking about their communities.
We learn how the news team works, how the team works together, how to actually put stuff on a page so we would be better prepared for the future.
All right, kudos to all those kids. Stay tuned, there's much more current straight ahead. Coming up, what every Catholic healthcare professional should know.
If you can use your gifts in the medical field consistent with your conscience, you're actually helping those patients who have a desire to have doctors and nurses and pharmacists and medical students who reflect their values and their beliefs.
Finally tonight, with all the talk about same-sex marriage, has the federal contraception mandate taken a back seat? Certainly not for the country's healthcare workers, many of whom are concerned their conscience rights will be violated under federal mandate, forcing them to act against their deeply held beliefs. On Wednesday at St. Catherine of Siena Church in Manhattan, a man who knows the ins and outs of bioethics law talked about what every Catholic healthcare professional should know.
How did a country that was founded on religious freedom and freedom of conscience, and it was such a vital element, why is it hard to get legislatures to understand this principle?
People are coming here today to come and listen to Nicholas Nickus, who's the president of the Bioethics Defense Fund, talk about religious liberty. They feel that their liberties are in danger, and they want to do everything that they can to defend them.
People who founded this country came to the United States because of the desire for religious liberty and liberty of conscience. Nobody should be forced to violate their conscience, that innermost part of their soul which tells them what's right and what's wrong, and to make those judgments.
Healthcare workers are being forced and coerced to violate their conscience. And of course the mandate, the HHS mandate, is just that writ large, okay, coercion in general.
Healthcare workers do have rights of conscience. They should always practice consistent with their beliefs and their faith. No one should force them to violate their conscience. They stand within the mainstream of American life in asking for their conscience to be respected, because that's how they will provide the best care for their patients.
We have gone in American law since 1973 with Roe v. Wade. First it was, you don't have to ever participate. Just give us the right to have the abortion. You can stay clear of it. Then it was forcing physicians and others to participate in the evil. And now we've come even further with the mandate that says not only do you participate, we all have to pay for it.
This is really not just about the healthcare workers themselves, but their patients. If you can use your gifts in the medical field consistent with your conscience, you're actually helping those patients who have a desire to have doctors and nurses and pharmacists and medical students who reflect their values and their beliefs.
For my own insurance, for example, if that was going to be mandated that we would continue to pay for abortions, then that would directly violate what I believe.
I mean, what else is there except to try to live a life that conforms to the truth?
If an American can't practice their religion in this country and stand up against what we think is against our religion, then who's next? We need to speak up and defend our rights as practicing Catholics.
The ability to object to something that you find immoral is central to the entire American experiment, what we are as Americans, and also, even deeper than that, what we are as just human beings. It's a fundamental right that's unassailable.
Every human being has a human nature, and our human nature guarantees that we have the right to practice consistently with our faith and our beliefs.
All right, well, that is all for this edition of Currents. Coming up tomorrow, a Brooklyn parish reaches out to a church in Haiti. Until then, be sure to visit us online at currentsny.net. You can also connect with us on Facebook, and you can follow us on Twitter. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Francesca Maxime. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.